Hello, what's up? Welcome back to the channel for today's March of the Machines Aftermath deck tech. Is this familiar with the spells deck that evolves around this card, Arcane Bombardment? So we know that is probably before that is just an EZ or blue-red build, but for today's deck list feature, we're going to have this one of the Temur, or we've added green color for our third color of this build, and just found this list. Another user submitted deck for MTG Goldfish, and I've seen also a few playtesting videos from YouTube with this deck, but let's see what we have with that of the green color that's offered in this deck build. So again, we're going to just recap the ability of this enchantment Arcane Bombardment. It is from Streets of New Capenna Mythic, a 6 to cast card for red. Whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, exile an instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard and then copy each card exiled with Arcane Bombardment. Then you may cast those number of copies without paying their mana cost. So what you would do here is that we're basically setting up all your spells up to your graveyard and then resolve on bombardment and do the exiling as you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, and then chain it later on with those of the cards exiled by playing each of those cards for free, graven from the graveyard. So what we'll do first on how this would evolve or progress starting for your first turn. So we have 22 instants, 10 sorceries to support this card, and we have 24 lands to do for our mana base. We're starting off with the instance with 2 Fading Hopes. So again, this is just a preliminary bounce spell to bounce off your initial aggro from your opponents. At the same time, you can have this Freeze Cry to filter out your draws. Then we also have 2 copies of Tamiya Safekeeping. This is basically for maybe for the removal of the enchantments, since we know that Invoke Despair is already out in Standard. Targeted enchantment removals may be the thing here, so we have the need to have protection by having Tamiya Safekeeping. So Tamiya Safekeeping, type permanent you control gains Psych-Proof and resolvable on the turn, and you gain 2 life. So that's basically a way that you have your extra mana. You may resolve an Arcane Bombardment with extra mana to have the Tamiya Safekeeping up. So the instance says that your opponents may have the enchantment removal, you can cast the Tamiya Safekeeping in order to protect it. So 2 copies of that in the deck. We also have 3 copies of Joint Exploration. This is a way to ramp up your cards at the same time card draw effect because of its kicker. So when you're able to kick this one, you may put a land card from your hand to the battlefield at 3 mana cost. But then at 2 mana cost, you would only have to scry 2, then draw a card on the setup. So 3 copies of those. Again, till possibility 4 copies to making sure that it's just additional draw spell, but at the same time you can discard a card by discarding your extra spells or instant sorceries, so that later on Arcane Bombardment may have to get a copy of those. And we also have a heavy counter spell in the form of Dissipate. That's 3 copies, where you can be able to counter a spell and exile it. And then 4 copies of Big Spore. This is one of the essential components in this deck, wherein you can generate treasure tokens to generate extra mana, at the same time card draw effect to drawing 2 cards by just discarding a card. And the new card included here for March of the Machines is 4 copies of the Sea Double. So this is an instant that can be copied, but the option is that if an opponent has 8 or more cards in the graveyard, you can choose both on these options. So first, you can copy target spell and choose new targets for the copy, or create a token as copy of target creature. So either way, in certain scenarios, you can have one of those options resolve, or if that your opponent has 8 or more cards in the graveyard, then you can resolve both effects. And for that way, they have those instants in total of 22. Now we look at our sorcery cards. We have these token generators. So basically, another way to win out, aside from burning out your opponents, is that you can create tokens as attackers. So we have these 2 copies of Brawl's Enforcement from March of the Machines, creating 2 1/1 blue and red elemental creature tokens. And also another token source in a removal is Burn Down the House. You can have these red devil creature tokens as added to generate this token so that we can be able to attack also. Now with added support for that, we need a way to also remove our creatures of your opponents. So we have Batter's End as our option. So we have 3 damage to each creature in its Planeswalker, and also having to option to destroy all artifacts with mana value 3 or less. The same function with that of Burn on the House. And our new card that's added for green is 2 copies of Titania's Command. So this is a 6 to cast sorcery. You can choose 2. Exile target creature player's graveyard. You gain 1 life for its card exiled. You can also search the library for up to 2 lands, put it on the battlefield, tap, and then shuffle. Or you can create 2 green bear creature tokens and put 2 total counters on each creature you control. So in a way, you can also pump up your devils or your elementals that was created early on from these cards, and also have the option to create your own tokens with these 2 green bear creature tokens. Now with that setup, in a way that you can just basically abuse out your Archetype Bombardment's effects whenever you cast your spells on each of your turns. And with added support of the mana base, which pretty much very basic here with just the Copperline Gorge, we have Dreambird Cascades, basic lands, and also Rockfall Vale and Starboard Coast. I think this deck would purely go with to have a very effective setup in this standard metagame. Now, last but not the least, for our mana curve, we have basically an average for 3.42. That means that goes between 3 and 4 mana value in this deck. Card distribution, you can basically see here that it's more of the red with 30, blue with 19, and green with 6, but the curve out here is pretty much equal with that of the blue. For blue producers is 15, green is 14, that of red is 18. And last but not the least, our tokens that we can use for this. We have the beer tokens, copy effects, the devil from producing by Burn on the House, Emerald tokens, and of course the treasure tokens that we can generate it out of the big score, and other effects that can generate extra mana. So that's basically it for this deck. I think you've seen a similar build whenever you grind in MTGO or MTG Arena. I think if you really want to try this out, I'll post the full deck list in the description of this video, so that you can also have your testing. And you can comment below what were your observations of what other changes that you might have, especially in the best of 3 scenario wherein you would need to cyber in efficient cards against the metagame decks in the standard format. So I guess that's basically it, guys. Thank you for checking on this video on this deck tech, and see you in the next one.